What regular luxury would you indulge in if you were rich? Say you were rich, not 1% rich and able to just buy a super mansion on a whim, or even very rich, just generally rich. What single, potentially everyday luxury would you indulge in? Like, say you really love a good drink. Between a basic domestic beer or a fancy $20 plus tip drink, you wouldn't have to think twice about it. You could go for the expensive drink every single time if that's what you wanted, without having to bat an eye at the cost. Or you like a good meal, but can't afford to go to a nice restaurant for good meal all the time. Well, now you can. You can drop $60 on a fancy steak for lunch on a weekday if you really want without having to factor it into a budget or anything. Maybe you're just a fan of mobile games and are addicted to rolling gacha. You can wail to your heart's content till you get all content in your game of choice at every update. But you can only pick one thing. One regular everyday luxury that you've now got the bank that you don't have to think twice about indulging in. What are you choosing? In response to the bunch of people indignant over the 1% comment, yes, a quick Google search shows that the 1% is someone making about $800,000 a year as of a few years ago. The super wealthy would be the 0.1% or even the 0.01%. The 1% are not actually super mansion on a whim rich. But conversely, considering the other comments asking things like, you seriously think a $60 steak is fancy? I went to X, Y, or Z and spent $200 on a plate? Yes. Believe it or not, many people can't afford to casually drop $60 on a single meal. Most, not even talking people living paycheck to paycheck, can't afford to drop $20 on a single meal and consider it a casual expense. Hence the nature of this entire post. With that in mind, you might understand how those in the lower middle class and below might not know the finer distinctions between those couple decimal places in the top, mentioning things like cars or private jets, or even just, if I had that money, I'd just put it into savings, kids' college funds, etc. I'm not gonna Reddit police, post what you want and have fun, but I guess a better way to think of this hypothetical for everyone. Imagine you could pick one specific expense, and if it was less than like $200 a day, it's just free now. No rollover, no cash out. You don't the money if you don't spend it. You can just pick this one casual luxury that you could consider free for you, even if the rest of your life remained the same. It could be a little broad, like bar tab, or restaurant bill, or fancier groceries, so you don't have to pick a very single specific item, but could splurge on a general expense. Or it could be specific things like getting a massage, or fancy wine, or fancy cheese. Or another popular option here, fresh socks every day, literally never wear the same pair twice. Personal chef. That's literally the only thing I'd want if I had more money. I worked in the household of a CEO when I was starting out in life. The family had a personal chef. Best food I've ever had in my entire life by a huge margin. And so healthy. He'd take like carrots, olive oil, salt and ginger, and soup. Better than anything else I've ever tasted. Incredible. This and weekly massages. Live the life. So I tried out a massage chair at a furniture store and fell in love. We are not rich in any means, but my parents decided to get it for me. I agreed that it was quite expensive, and I didn't want another Christmas or birthday gift again. I use it at least twice a day since I have such a physically demanding job, and it takes away about 90% of my pain. To give more context, I have tried out several massage chairs, mall, gym, etc., and was never impressed with them. I've never been rich, but the last few years we've had a decent income, so I finally have some spending money. My not guilty at all pleasure is getting a deep tissue massage every few weeks. Not a happy ending or dodgy thing, just at one of the massage places you see in the mall. Find yourself a good one and spend $50 to $100 on an hour of massage. Especially if, like me, you have chronic neck and back pain. It's unbelievable how good it feels to have the knots and kinks worked out of your muscles. Chances are, they will find issues you never even realized you had, because it's a low-level ache hidden under more acute pain. If I could afford it, I'd go every week. I was rich once. I had an epic housekeeper who did everything for me. I didn't clean or touch laundry for 4 years, and she made my meals too. Heaven. I'd absolutely get a housekeeper again. I'm a financial fucking retard. I was making $500,000 a year and spending it as it came in. One day the income stopped. The worst part is that I knew it was going to stop for years, but I still didn't plan ahead. That was 3 years ago. When I interviewed my housekeeper, She was working 3 days a week for my neighbor, watching 2 young children, cleaning the house, laundry and meals, all for $60 a day. She was a Mexican national who could not legally work in the U.S., but who crossed the border legally and Instaclar lived on the border. After 1 day of her working at my house as a trial period, doing all the same things but with 1 less kid, she was willing to accept the same $60. When I saw my house, I paid her $100. She literally fought me over the extra money. Long story short, I ended up stealing her from my neighbor and employing her 5 days a week at $600 a week. I also paid for her Uber to and from the border, which was 10 miles away. This woman was making more in a week off me than the police in her town in Mexico made in a month. I no longer live near the Mexican border. If I were to follow federal law and hire someone who can legally work in this country where I am now, the same level of service would cost me $2,000 a week. There's a reason rich Republicans didn't work with Trump on illegal immigration. We love our housekeepers as much as the Democrats love their new voters. All my bills on auto pay that doesn't get canceled. I've only heard stories. 1. Full body massages, daily. 2. 1 full day per week, child-free to spend much-needed one-on-one time with my wife. And when we arrive home that evening, the nanny would have left us with an immaculately clean house so we can go to bed without stressing about things yet to do. 3. Stress-free healthcare services and the flexibility to make life habit alterations to remain healthy without the worry of my work schedule or income making those changes impossible. Weekly massages. Weekly scalp massages like they do when you get a hair wash before a haircut. Housekeeper, because I loathe house cleaning. Grocery delivery personal shopper that I trust to pick out quality produce. I'd have all of my clothing tailored. I'd have a last made for my feet and have custom shoes made. House cleaning service, not a full-time maid, but one of those companies where they send a small team of people to your house about once a month, and they just deep clean everything. Wear extremely comfortable shoes. Whole smoked wild-caught fish, fish eggs, and good cheeses. I would order delivery. Want a pizza? Delivery. Want some McDonald's? Delivery. Want some vanilla ice cream? Delivery. Want some really fancy cheese sandwiches from that nice restaurant that a coworker ordered for you because no one was here to cover my lunch with the massive delivery fee? Deliver it to me. Custom clothing. I really like lightweight and breathable clothing, and custom-fitting clothing is a luxury we all need to experience once in your life. Someone to drive me around, because I can't drive with my disability, and having a driver would enable me to do so much more, and maybe even allow me to earn more money with less effort that way. This is probably going to sound really simple, but I just want to be able to afford fancy cheese. I'm not talking about an entire wheel of Parmesan or something like that. For example, Aldi's has this really good sharp shredder called Seriously Sharp. If I could buy an insane amount of that, I would be happy. I fell in love with that sharp cheddar a couple weeks ago while looking for new cheese for mac and cheese. But honestly, it goes well with everything. And I just wonder what other cheeses are out there that have the potential to change my life.